right, time for breaking news on this Friday afternoon. Police in pursuit of a robbery suspect.
That's right. Assignment editor Mike Rogers is at the desk with the latest for us. Mike.
Yeah, so here's what we know. This is LAPD Olympic Division that are chasing these armed robbery suspects. They are reported as 211 suspects, which is robbery. We just learned that they are armed. The LAPD helicopter has been denied to go into tracking because of what they are wanted for. The watch commander wants these units to stay right behind them. We are going at pretty slow speeds. We are just north of the 10 freeway, just west of the 110 freeway at 18th and Burlington. You see right there, that's north of the 10 freeway, just west of the 110 freeway at 18th and Burlington. You see right there, that is a gray Ford Focus they're chasing, you guys. Originally, like I said, these were Pacific Division units that started this. They got additional units in place. Because of what they are wanted for, there are several units that have been authorized to be involved in this pursuit, more than just the usual 3. They are talking about potentially trying to set up spike strips as well, because the suspect has been going kind of in the same area here. Again, just north of the 10, west of the 110 freeway, as this gray Ford Focus goes at very slow speeds, even kind of coming to complete stops at times through these intersections, you guys. We've not seen any wild chasing at all. This has allowed those LAPD units to stay right behind him. And again, as passenger door is open, weapon was a handgun, I'm being told by my colleague Orlando. Passenger door open a little bit there, but back closed, and they are continuing to move here. There goes the passenger door again. Looks like one person doesn't want to play along anymore and is getting out. You'll see LAPD officers will talk to that person. We'll see if the driver is going to continue.
This can be real dangerous, Mike, especially we're talking about armed suspects. He's moving his hands around. He's obviously showing he doesn't have any weapons in his hands. But again, this changes the whole dynamic again, because that car most likely is going to keep going while officers focus on this guy in the yellow shirt.
Yeah, and the guy in the yellow shirt clearly doesn't want anything to do with it. Somebody reached over and closed the door, and the car's going to take off. Guys, 9 times out of 10, these passengers, especially one like that, as long as he doesn't have any other warrants or anything wrong with him, he'll get kicked. He won't go to jail for just being a passenger in this, unless he was wanted in connection with the robbery. But he obviously, that guy wanted nothing to do with this chase and asked to be let out, and that's exactly what happened. So now you've got the driver still going, obviously. Now, here was the other issue, is that LAPD doesn't know how many people are in the car.
I was just going to say that. The windows are so dark.
Right, the windows are very dark. They asked how many people are in the car. They say they don't know, they can't tell. At least 2, right? Because we saw one guy get out. Somebody closed the passenger door. It's hard to tell if the driver leaned over and did that, or if there's yet another passenger that's in there. So we'll have to see all of that. Hopefully they'll be able to get some information out of the guy that got out of the car.
That would be a very long arm, Mike, right? To reach across the car to close the passenger side door. What's really interesting here, again, as you mentioned, it's a pursuit, right? Police are in pursuit of these robbery suspects. But what a slow pursuit. It's moving so slow. Here we are stopping again.
Yeah, and they very clearly don't really know kind of what they want out of this, because we've seen this kind of move several times here, where the car just kind of stops in the middle of the road. We do know, my colleague Orlando telling me, that a handgun was used during the course of the robbery. So that was the weapon that was had. Obviously, they don't know if the weapon is still in the car, but that's something they're going to act like and proceed with caution as if it was. So that's why you've got these units kind of staying back. That's why they're not allowed to go into tracking mode, because the suspect is armed and because they're wanted for this alleged armed robbery. And I'm going to ask Oliver, while we're stopped here, to pull out his shot just a little bit, because I want to show you all of the patrol cars that are back there, because they've gotten permission to have significantly more units than we usually do in a pursuit. You've got about 5 units that are back there right now. You've got a couple that are obviously still back with that passenger that got out, taking that person into custody. But again, not driving hard, not trying to really get away here, stopped in the middle of the crosswalk there as we're at Hoover near the 10 freeway right now.
Mike, do we know where this robbery took place, or what happened?
We're going to work on getting that information right now from LAPD to see if they can kind of share anything. It has not come out over the radio exactly what happened. On the right side of your screen is from moments ago when that passenger got out of the car there. It almost looked like, you guys see too, he was like motioning like he wanted to grab something else out of the car. During that, obviously the officer's telling him, no, just get away, get away, get away. And then he puts his hands up, and they'll take him into custody and try to sort out what, if any, involvement he may have had with the alleged armed robbery that this car is wanted for. But as we approach Washington and Hoover, this is kind of the area that we've been in. We really haven't strayed away too much from this area on this busy Friday afternoon.
And you know, Mike, when a driver is going this slow, it would seem as if it's easier to put those spike strips down, but because they are going so slow,
there goes another passenger.
Oh, another person getting out.
Yep, another person not wanting to play along with this.
Wow.
That must be why they're going so slow, Mike, right? These passengers are saying, hey, pull over.
Yeah.
I want to get out. I don't want any more of this. You're going to get in trouble. Police are chasing you. And and it's like basically just more and more people getting out of the car.
Yeah, and there's got to be a lot of conflict happening in that car between the driver and the two passengers, because obviously these passengers are not interested in running from law enforcement, which is why now 2 of them have gotten out. So you would have to imagine there's heated conversations going on between the person who is driving the car, who clearly wants to get away, and the people that were inside. So we'll see if there are any more passengers in there, or if we're finally just kind of down to the driver. You see the hazard lights on the car. Really dark windows all the way around. Even the windshield is pretty difficult to be able to see inside. I did just hear them authorize another unit to get into the pursuit, because every time one of these passengers gets out, the units have to kind of peel back and deal with the passengers. So they're authorizing kind of more black and whites to get involved in this as we come around under the car, under the tree. And look at that window. That windshield is really dark.
Yeah. Did it look like the person who got out was a woman?
It did. It did. And I'm trying to listen to that right now. She also had that white plastic bag with her, which we don't know what was in that. But it did look like she was a woman when she got out there on the right side of your screen.
Yeah, here we go again.
Looking at that.
Well, here's the good thing, Mike, about having all those units behind this car is that if somebody does get out of the car, at least one can pull over and make sure they can talk to the suspect, get some more information, or not the suspect, but the passenger in the car to determine what they're going to be dealing with, especially with these dark tints. You really can't see inside the car.
Yeah, and they'll for sure be asking, does he have any guns? Is there any other weapons inside the car?
Yeah.
And hopefully, sorry. Just listening to our helicopter reporter, Oliver, has given me some information as well, hearing that from the law enforcement helicopter, just confirming for us that this was a 211, an armed robbery with a handgun. We're going to work to see if we can figure out exactly where and when that armed robbery occurred. But it sounds like the officers that initiated this pursuit were kind of already privy to that information, which always kind of, when we do it that way, kind of makes me lead that there was ran the license plate, and the license plate was already kind of wanted in connection to this armed 211. But you're right, when you have those passengers that get out of the car and don't want to go along with the pursuit, you're hopeful that they'll be a little bit more willing to kind of speak with officers or give them some kind of information about what the driver has or what exactly is going on inside of that car. Because we do see a lot of times where there are passengers in pursuits that stick with the chase and stay in the car until the end. They don't maybe necessarily run all the time, but these guys very clearly wanted out. They did not want to be involved in this.
Yes, and as we were mentioning earlier, that might have been why the car kept stopping. Perhaps they were saying, stop the car, I want out. And then this driver would stop, but then keep going. You can see some people looking out there, but certainly a slow pursuit. And we have a lot of people out there on the sidewalks now in this area. You can see that one patrol car up there on the sidewalk, hopefully just trying to keep everyone away from this car, perhaps. I don't know.
Picking up a little speed here at that left-hand turn.
Yeah. And this is, a tough, pursuit. They probably want to put a spike strip down, but going this slow, the driver can easily go around the spike strip. And sometimes it almost seems like it's almost harder to do a pit maneuver when the car is going too slow.
I mean, that's the thing. The pit maneuver's got to be such that perfect speed to be able to do that. You can't be going too fast, you'll hurt somebody, but you can't be going too slow, otherwise it's just going to be ineffective.
Yeah. Or you got to use that momentum, right?
Exactly. Really quick, Orlando on the assignment desk was just talking to LAPD. We know that this 211, this robbery, happened a couple of days ago. So it was not something that happened today. It was something that happened a couple of days ago. It was investigated. This car was labeled as a suspect vehicle in it. They entered the license plates into the system, and at some point today, these Olympic officers found the car, ran the plate, discovered that it was allegedly used in an armed robbery. The armed robbery, again, was with a handgun. We know that nobody was hurt in the armed robbery. No shots were fired. Nobody was injured. We don't know if it was to a business, to a person. We're still working on some of those details. But a couple of days ago, no one was injured. Today, Olympic officers ran the plate and got behind the car.
Mike, and that bit of information is going to be helpful to the two passengers who jumped out of the car, right?
Well, yeah, because you don't know. I mean, maybe those guys didn't know that this guy allegedly robbed, somebody. Oh, hang on.
Okay, we're getting some more information here at
the
desk.
There are still 2 people in the car.
Two more people in the car.
They were able to get information from one of the passengers that bailed out that said the driver is a man and there is still another passenger that is a woman that are still in the car. So that will help LAPD to know that there are still 2 more people in this car.
And are they still staying here in University Park, Mike?
We really haven't moved. Yeah, I mean, we're still at 17th and Toberman. 17th is where we were earlier, right before SkyCal got overhead. So, excuse me, we really have not made a ton of progress at all in getting anywhere significant, and that kind of goes with the way he's driving. He's not driving that crazy. In fact, he's almost impeding traffic at some points with how slow he's going. So, not super interested in trying to gun it and get out of the area. Maybe that is just indicative of them not knowing what to do or where to go, or really kind of how to handle this.
Exactly. And I'm guessing that meant that there were 4 people in the car initially, and it wasn't from that first person who got out saying, hey, there's still a woman and a driver, because then we did see that woman get out of the car. So we're sure that there's still 2 more.
2 more.
There. Okay.
Yeah, that information just came in from, they said, from one of the passengers that got out.
Okay.
Mike, and do we know if the officers that are in chase here, are they giving commands over their speaker to pull over? Is there some sort of communication?
Well, you saw, so he got stuck in traffic a couple of times, and again, he doesn't try to get past them, and you'll see, and we'll see if it happens again. I'm just trying to see if any of these officers are throwing spikes, because sorry, just listen in. So we're very close to the area where the car is registered to. So the car comes back to an address over on 18th Street. We're on 17th Street. So we're not far from this where these people are. The car is registered to. We don't know that the person driving it is necessarily the owner, but excuse me, we know that it is registered in the area. So this person probably knows the area, and that's why we're not really leaving that area. To your point, though, Juan, and I don't see it this time, but I did see once when the car stopped like this, that those officers opened their doors, and at that point was probably likely at least yelling things at the driver to surrender and pull over.
Well, and we've seen this before, right? Where somebody wants to get a little closer to home if they are going to get arrested, maybe drop off the car. Maybe they feel if a relative or somebody, a witness, is there to see the arrest go down, it might be a good thing.
Yeah.
So we don't know if this person is on their cell phone talking to family members at home, trying to figure out and negotiate. Maybe they're telling him, hey, pull over and let's end this, because as we know, how these pursuits always end is with someone in custody.
Well, exactly, but they might also be trying to get home and make a run for it into a building where maybe they think that they can hide.
Right.
So that's why it's so important for these officers to stay so close, so that, in fact, if they do try to bail out, they're close behind.
Well, and what this person may not know is that LAPD has made the decision to not go into tracking and to stay on their tail the whole time. So if they're looking for an opportunity where the cops might back off a little bit and give them some breathing room, that's not going to happen in this chase, because LAPD has already said it's not going to happen. The other thing, that if they're trying to find somewhere to bail, that they're, I don't want to tell pursuit suspects how to do their jobs, but they're staying in the same area here, which is allowing more and more officers to kind of flood the area.
Right?
So if they do try to get out and run, they are, I would hope that almost certainly they'll be caught, because you have so many cops that are in the area. They're not going into tracking mode. And you've got, it looks like, I think we actually have 2 police helicopters. I know just one, but a police helicopter overhead, obviously, that's keeping an eye on them as well.
Well, we saw the LAPD helicopter cross the SkyCal's camera a couple of times there. So we do know that they're keeping an eye, not only from the ground, but also from up above, tracking this robbery suspect. Right now on your screen on the right-hand side, you can see it happened twice during this slow pursuit. Basically, is 2 different people got out of the car, and what we're believing right now, just based on the information and observation here, is that these people were in the car with these robbery suspects, or a robbery suspect. The license plate dinged back to a robbery that took place the last couple of days. Police gave chase here, and these other passengers had no idea, didn't want anything to do with what was going on here, and they were allowed to get out of the car, at least from the driver. But again, this driver going so slow, round and round here in the Pico-Union area near University Park, just near the home, right? Near the home where this car is registered to, right?
Yeah, 18th Street is where the vehicle came back to. And I want to ask really quick, Nate, in our control room, when you get a second, if you can put my computer in a box here, I just want to show people kind of the path that the law enforcement helicopter has been taking, because we've not at all gone anywhere else besides really this area, butting up consistently right against the 10 freeway, just on the west side of the 110 freeway. So I know we'll work on getting that here in just a second so I can show you that. But the car is not trying to make any of these really crazy moves. They're not trying to speed off and get away. They're just kind of trying to hang out in this area and go in circles. You've already let the 2 passengers out. They're already talking to law enforcement. That's how the police know that there is still a man and a woman inside the car. Apparently the man is the driver here as we approach 18th Street, where we know now that the car is registered to.
The man should probably let the lady out of the car too. I mean, it would be best for her too to just not be implicated in this unless she was part of this robbery. There's that map, Mike.
So here's my computer, and the orange that you're seeing on it is the trail of the LAPD helicopter. So you can see that we've really only gone in this same kind of area. You come out here, this is the greater Los Angeles area. Here's the 10 and the 110. This is the path that the LAPD helicopter has been chasing. You can see SkyCal has just been kind of circling that same area as well. But there's the LAPD ship one more time. And that's just kind of the area that they've been in throughout the course of this chase. We've really not made any great grand, geographical movements on this one.
Exactly, and really hasn't picked up the speed much either.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been a slow pursuit since we've been over it, and you just wonder if at some point are these officers going to make the move with either a spike strip or attempt a pit maneuver. There's not a lot of traffic out there, but things are certainly going to be picking up as we get closer to the end of the workday for so many people on a Friday. And you always have to be careful of all of those pedestrians that are also out there.
And just a few seconds ago, we did get a chance to see, look at that line of LAPD cars behind this suspect's car, quite a bit there.
At least 5.
At least 5, right, Mike? And as you were saying, because he's staying in this area here, more and more units can be deployed here to just hopefully contain as best they can the pursuit.
Picking up now.
Yeah. So yeah, and for those who don't know, LAPD, when there's a pursuit, they always put together what's called a pursuit package. And there are units that are in a technical sense, authorized to be involved in the pursuit. And in this situation, because of the watch commander has authorized those additional police officers. Yeah, and again, we're just kind of stopping right here in the middle of the road. And you wonder if he tried to gun it a little bit to get far enough away to get out and run or something like that, but that didn't happen. And now we're just stopped in the middle of the road as they continue on.
It looks like he's thinking, should I make a right-hand turn here? Should I stay in this lane? Is that a traffic light, Mike? Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah. And this car is like, I don't want anything to do with that, and getting away, which is very smart of that person to do. But back to your point of the number of officers, so they have 5 that are officially authorized to be in the chase, but then the ones that are still within the division are nearby and in the area. So they're not technically and officially involved in the chase, but they certainly are positioning themselves to be close by for when this comes to an end. And there you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those 5 black and whites that have been authorized to be in the chase. And then you've got a supervisor back at the station, 20L90, who is the watch commander, which will be giving the official commands on this chase. But here we are. I mean, we gunned it to 60, stopped in the middle of the road, and now we're just hanging out at this traffic signal.
And Mike, I always get this question when friends and viewers watch these pursuits happen. They're like, they see 5 LAPD cars, the car is stopped. Many wonder, why don't the cars from the back of the pack kind of gun it and kind of block in the car, but you never get in front of the...
You never get in front of a suspect like that, especially in this situation, because this is an alleged armed robbery suspect that they know that a weapon and a handgun was used. And the last thing you want to do is put an officer right in front of the car, especially when they can't see inside, when they don't have good eyes on the suspect, and you don't know exactly how that suspect will react to that. The additional thing is, too, if you put officers in front of the car and then you still have officers behind the car, then you create a crossfire situation for those officers that if, God forbid, shots are fired, now you have officers kind of shooting in the direction of the other officers. So they don't want to put themselves in that place either. Now, we have seen, to your point though, we have seen CHP do that. We have seen CHP come up and kind of, not necessarily from the front, but box them in from the side. But those are for usually more minor wants, things, just a failure to yield, a lane change violation, DUI, things like that. But with an armed robbery suspect like this, they're not going to go into tracking. I would be also surprised if they would do a pit maneuver, because same thing, you spin the car around and you put the guy facing those officers.
And we have no idea, Mike, whether or not the suspect is armed today. They may have been armed 2 days ago, but officers have to operate with the thought and knowledge that perhaps that they are still armed today.
And I want to point out real quick, too, we have finally left that area. We're now into the downtown area. So Oliver is going to do his best, but we're going to get some tall buildings in the way here that are always problematic for us. So we'll see, and we'll do our best to kind of stick with this and hang on to the chase here as we come into downtown. But this is the first time we have left that area of kind of University Park, just north of the 10 and west of the 110. Right now, we are kind of in the area. This is Venice and Broadway, not far from the LA Convention Center and that kind of area.
And, this driver is still stopping at intersections, following the rules of the road, not speeding, picked up that pace just for a very short time, but, just sitting at the intersection there.
Yeah, and it really kind of just makes you think that they're not sure what they're doing, right? I mean, this whole chase has been this weird stop and go, passengers not wanting to go along with what the driver's doing. And so I just am very curious to obviously know what the conversation is inside of that car, because it definitely seems like a person who's not super sure of what they're doing.
Well, his mind's probably going a mile a minute.
Yeah.
And to Amy's point too, obeying traffic laws, perhaps he thinks, well, I'm just going to pretend that they weren't after me, or, or I did nothing wrong. I was obeying the traffic rules, versus somebody who is obviously running from police.
Yeah, someone was crossing the street there. They waited until they got through the crosswalk, and now taking off again. But as Mike was talking, this is a new area that we haven't seen this driver in, and it'll be interesting to see if they can really maneuver this area as well. You've got one-way streets, you've got maybe a less familiar area.
Mike, do you think he's trying to get onto the 10 freeway there, or looking for an on-ramp?
I mean, yeah, maybe, but the thing with that, though, is he's already had kind of that opportunity a couple of times, and we're doing that kind of stop and go game. I know SkyCal's trying to reposition to get around it. Oliver, he's still back to the right. There he is, right there.
There he is, yeah.
And you still have those LAPD units right behind him. Now, again, no real concerted effort to get away. I mean, if he wanted to get on the freeway, he had tons of opportunities to do that when we were back over kind of where this whole thing started. So it doesn't, I mean, doesn't seem to be bothered by the fact that all those cops are back there. He's certainly not doing anything aggressive to try to get away from them, just kind of not wanting to give up, not go with the program.
And then you almost wonder, is this intentional stopping? Could there be issues with the car? I mean, they haven't been going very fast, stop and go. Maybe there aren't, Well,
he's sitting in heavier traffic now, Mike. It looks like he's got nowhere to go. He could make a right-hand turn into that parking lot, but it doesn't look like he's going to be doing that.
Well, and then and that's kind of the thing here, is he's not, there's no real movements that he's trying to, here's how I can lose him, here's how I can ditch him. He's just kind of content with driving and having them follow along and, kind of do his thing.
Yeah, but you're definitely going to be seeing more traffic in this area at this time of day, because this area can get really jam-packed, especially on a Friday. This is over off Broadway. I mean, we all know that that's a very busy area.
As is the central part of the city right here. Traffic finally starting to move here after that traffic light turned green here. So we're going to see what he's going to do. Just go right through that intersection again at slow rates of speed here, not going too fast. A robbery suspect with one other person inside the car, at least according to two other passengers. They told officers there's someone, the driver, a man, and a woman in the car still left here. And this is a car that dinged back to an armed robbery. Mike, you said over the last couple of days, right? Was it a couple of days?
A couple of days
ago.
ago.
Sorry, I'm listening to some radio traffic.
Yeah, a couple of days ago, this car was involved in an armed robbery, but we don't know if the same person is in that car, but it may very well be, since he does not want to pull over for those officers.
And officers have to operate with the knowledge that perhaps this weapon is still in their car, and if they did use a weapon in a robbery, this person should be considered dangerous. So this pursuit continues here of a robbery suspect now through the central part of the city, close to downtown LA, a different area than they were just a little while ago, where they were just kind of circling the Pico-Union area, the Jefferson Park area. Here we are, stuck in traffic once again.
Yeah, that's just been kind of the theme here. And we're in a different division of the LAPD now, so excuse me, they're going to bring in some other officers from the other division that we're now in, that we've left Olympic Division's area. We're in Newton Division right now, and then we'll be in Southwest here in a second if he continues to go west. We're coming up on the 110 freeway, which he'll go under not too far. We're right near LATTC, LA Technical College, and right here on Broadway near the 25th Street area. And those officers right behind him, and again, they've denied tracking mode. They've not allowed that because of the want and what this guy is wanted for. And the fact that they can't see in the car. They think that there are a man and a woman still in the car. They got that information from one of the passengers that bailed out. But we're just kind of continuing on here. And again, no real concerted effort to really do anything evasive to try to get away.
Yeah, and this has been going on for about 30 minutes now. And we have seen this be really a slow speed pursuit. Picked up the pace for just a very brief moment, and then got right back down into those lower speed limits, probably around 30, I believe, that we've been seeing about But, you know, this driver's been following the rules of the road, stopping, and then even stopping in the middle of the road when it wasn't necessary. So we just have to wonder what's going on, if this has anything to do with the car, if he's still maybe debating with the last person that's in the car with him on whether or not he will stop to let her out, or if he's maybe even telling her, you need to get out. I mean, you just never know what's going on in there.
And for the longest time, this pursuit kind of stayed in an area close to where this car is registered to. And now for the first time, we're seeing the driver venture out from that area and covering some good distances here at about 30 miles an hour. It looks like traffic is now cooperating with them. And he did have several opportunities, as Mike was saying, to jump onto the freeway, but he didn't do that. He's staying on surface streets.
And just a logistical note for everyone watching, the further south we go, we're going to start getting into that my least favorite area of town, the LAX Bravo airspace. Right. So we'll do our best to stick with this. We're southbound Broadway right now, just kind of west of USC here. So we're almost close to the 110 freeway. On the other side of that will be USC as we approach 37th Street, Broadway, and 39th almost here as he comes up to that intersection. But yeah, this is the first time, you know, he finally got out of that area over back where we believe the car is registered to, through downtown and now south into kind of the South LA area, just passing Exhibition Park, almost bordering the 110 freeway.
Yeah, still going relatively slow speeds here, and surprisingly, there's not as much traffic in this area as I would expect at this time of day on a Friday. Usually it's pretty full, but again, we're seeing this driver just, you know, stop after the intersection, and I guess just trying to figure out which way they should go. Perhaps they're not as familiar with this area as they were with the other area, but plenty of cars stopped ahead. And, you know, as Juan was talking about earlier, your friends see it and wonder why they don't just, you know, hop out and get this person to get out of the car. This person may very well be armed. They were involved, at least the car was involved in an armed robbery just a couple of days ago. And with those dark tinted windows, you just don't know who's in that car and if they are armed right now.
Oh, we do know that a man and a woman were in the car. Passengers, you're looking at it right here on the right side of your screen. A man got out first. A woman with a white shopping bag got out second. And this car continued going. And right now, sitting in traffic, South Broadway and West 39th, it looks like, in the central part of the city. Officers right behind, at least 5 officers, 5 units continuing to follow this car. And what's interesting, a lot of times in these slow speed pursuits, the way they end is they just stop, right? They eventually give up, they pull over, get out of the car, raise their hands, and it's done. So there's some sort of negotiating that must be going on either with himself or the woman in the car with him as to why they're not pulling over yet.
Yeah, and you know, you wonder too, when they stop and do that thing, we've seen in other chases where you know, where we can actually see in the windows when they do that kind of stopping thing, they're actually like inside the car fidgeting with something or moving stuff around or doing something like that. So I wonder if some of that is going on as well when they come to those just kind of strange stops in the middle of the road, or maybe they're just trying to figure out what's next. We're going to start seeing this off the end of the lens here because we are in that restricted airspace now. So SkyCal is not going to be able to travel a ton further. We'll stick with it the best we can. The problem is kind of once we decide we want to transition to the south end of the airspace, we have to go and we can't stop. And this guy's not really going fast enough for us to do it with him, so to speak. So we'll watch it as long as we can, and then I'll work with SkyCal to make a decision on how we want to get around to the other side here. If we just want to go to the east and follow down Alameda or cross the 110. But we'll work on that here in a second. We'll stick with it as long as we can. But this very slow speed chase, you know, this guy just pretty content to just kind of stick on Broadway and head southbound Broadway as we come through 43rd Street here.
So Mike, we're at that point, the breaking point, where what we're looking at is basically the telephoto lens, right?
Oh yeah.
From SkyCal, because SkyCal cannot cross into the restricted area that's out there because of the cross traffic from LAX, right?
Yeah, so what happens in this area is you know, all the helicopters have to fly at a lower altitude because there are aircraft landing at LAX on top of us. So usually SkyCal likes to be at about 1,000 to 1,100 feet. Law enforcement likes to be down at 400 to 500 feet. Everyone has to come even lower than that when we're in the LAX airspace. And it's too dangerous to have the law enforcement helicopter down at 200-300 feet.
It crowds the area,
and
right?
us at 800 feet. It's just not enough separation between the aircraft to make it safe. So we've agreed with LAPD and sheriffs that during chases, we won't go into the Bravo airspace. We'll let them just kind of have that airspace to maintain a safe distance. So that's what we're looking at. You saw Oliver a minute ago. You saw that little adjustment on the camera there. That was him going on the doubler of the lens.
Yeah.
So we are almost on the end of the lens here, kind of watching this as he continues to go southbound on Broadway. And eventually we'll transition and we'll go to the south end of this. I want to wait for him to get a little bit further to the south before we do that, so we can try to have eyes on this for as long as we can. But if he continues to go south, we'll be able to see him for a little bit while longer, where we start to get in a little bit of a pickle is when he goes down east or west on these streets. That makes it harder for us to see. But when he goes just straight down Broadway here, as we cross 51st, you see on the street sign, you'll be able to watch him for a little bit longer.
Yeah, we have a nice straight shot.
Yeah.
Mike, how far east would SkyCal have to go to get out of that restricted area?
Yeah, so Alameda is the cutoff there. So we would have to go east to Alameda, and then we can come down. Essentially, SkyCal is sitting at USC. So if you think about where that is, USC, and then he's looking down at 52nd, 53rd Street, just straight down Broadway. So that is basically the border of the critical airspace for the Bravo is USC to the north. Yeah, USC to the north. Thanks, Nate. Right here. So SkyCal is sitting right here. You can see this is where the police helicopter is. This is USC right here. And then let me turn on the telestrator really quick.
Yeah, we can see basically the straight shot of the road that he's on.
Yeah, and then Alameda is... Let's see, where'd Alameda go? Alameda is just to the east here, and then, oh yeah, right here. So this is basically the line of the airspace. So we would have to fly kind of out here to the east to be able to get down, and then it ends down here at the 105. So what we'll do, as the assignment desk, what we'll do is eventually make the decision to have SkyCal transition down the 110 and come and sit down here. The problem is when we transition to the 110, we can't stop. We have to continue going, and so we have to get all the way to the south side, and then we'll look at it coming from the north.
And you can see the traffic right there, Mike, going into LAX. Look at all those planes.
Yeah, you've got all the aircraft coming here, and I'll give you some perspective. Excuse me, this Alaska Airlines plane is at 2,400 feet. So he's coming down here, the law enforcement helicopter's at 500, and right here, SkyCal's at 1,000. So you can see as the aircraft continues to come across the 110, their altitude goes lower and lower. We'll probably be at 2,000 feet by the time they hit the 110. So you can see that we start to crunch the airspace down there, and that's why it's not safe for us to continue to follow through as you see the police helicopter continuing south. Now he's finally hitting some more traffic as we come down Broadway at 56th.
Yeah, and we did notice also as he was going down this straight street here, he actually went through a couple of red lights, which, he had been following the rules of the road, but we did see him go through 2 different red lights along this path, and you can see pedestrians out there walking across the street, and things are definitely picking up with traffic as we get closer to the 5 o'clock hour. But this driver still refusing to stop for those officers.
That's right. A suspect who has been wanted for at least a car was involved in an armed robbery over the last couple of days. The license plate dinged back today when officers checked it, and they gave chase. The driver did not want to pull over. He did pull over momentarily to let 2 people out of the car who at this point we believe were not involved in that armed robbery, but there's still what we believe, based on information that we received from the 2 people you see exiting the car here. This is the first person who was let out. And moments after that, a woman with a white shopping bag was seen getting out of the car. You see her right there. Based on their information, officers are operating with knowledge that there is a man driver and a woman passenger in the car right here. Whether or not either one of those involved in the armed robbery, we don't know. But the fact that they haven't pulled over is a good indicator that most likely one of them was, because if you weren't, why wouldn't you pull over in the first place, right?
Exactly, exactly. And, some of these lights can be pretty lengthy. We see this driver just sitting at that light. We see one of those cruisers kind of going up and along this side. I don't know if that's, they're opening up their doors.
Opening their doors.
Yeah, and so what they'll be doing is at least yelling to the guy. I want to make a comment a couple minutes ago, the LAPD helicopter, who is at a much lower altitude than we are, also tried to see in that windshield just to see if they could see if she could see what the suspects were doing. And she said that the tactical flight officer said that she couldn't see what they were doing either because the windows are just so dark in there. So you hit this heavier traffic, the officers try to take an opportunity to maybe start a dialogue with the suspect, but that clearly is not what the suspect is interested. Guys, I think right now I'm gonna ask Oliver and Jeff, who is our pilot tonight, to start seeing if we can transition to the south here and get on the other side of this. We'll have to go all the way down to the 105 and then look to the north. So Oliver, if you can hear me, if we can start to see if we can make that happen, I think we're gonna start to have to get the better picture from the other side. Oliver's doing a great job at hanging on to it at the end of the lens here. So we'll let them coordinate that. So if you start seeing some movements, hopefully that's what we're able to do. If not, we'll have to exit the Bravo and go around Alameda. So we'll see what their options are, what LAX Tower is interested in letting us do right now. So we'll keep an eye on that as we continue to look at this on the end of the lens here at Broadway and 57th.
More breaking news. This is a robbery suspect pursuit that's been going on for about an hour now. This has been a slow speed pursuit that we've been watching. This again is an armed suspect. Police are treating this driver as though that weapon is still in the car when that armed robbery happened a couple of days ago.
That's right. We got our way around the restricted flight area. Mike Rogers on the desk. Any new information?
Yeah, a couple of new pieces of information. The watch commander wanted some additional details on what that armed robbery was. Excuse me. We now know, according to one of the officers involved in the pursuit, that when the robbery happened, the suspect lifted his shirt and in his waistband was the gun. So they saw the butt of the gun in the waistband. The clarification that the watch commander wanted was if they believed this was a simulated firearm, like he said he had a gun but nobody actually saw it, or do we think this is at all a a replica gun,
BB gun, or
something like that. So that's why the watch commander was asking for the clarification. And then when the officer responded, he said during the 211, during the armed robbery, the suspect showed a gun in his waistband. The victims saw the butt of the waistband. They've also requested 2 additional units to join the pursuit. Right now, we've got 5 patrol cars for a total of 10 officers, because each patrol car has 2 cops in it, has requested 2 additional units because we are about to leave the city of LA. So we are going to be down in the county area here, and then eventually we'll be into like Hawthorne, Willowbrook, that kind of area. So we are just, as you see, Broadway and 108th. He never left Broadway the whole time. Just took Broadway straight down through the restricted airspace for us. We were able to kind of keep an eye on him as we did have to go eastbound out towards Alameda. And now you're starting to see, look at that, some crowds there, right there on the corner at Broadway, and I believe that's going to be maybe 109th or 108th place. But it is starting to attract a crowd, and you see people, look at that white BMW on the left is also driving in the bike lane. That's interesting. But you've got the suspect doing that thing that he's been doing where he just kind of stops in the middle of the street. Oh. All right, we're finally turning, going off Broadway. Oh, man, he's trying to kill me. We're going to go backbound, northbound, which is going to hamper us for this restricted airspace. So we may have to play that game again where we have to go back around the airspace. We'll see maybe if he turns off and goes east-west here, but I'll have maybe Oliver and Jeff start working on a plan to see if we can go through the 110 this time instead of out to Alameda. Last time LAX didn't let us come down the 110. They made us go all the way around. So we'll see this time if we can transition just through the 110 to go back north. But as he is now turned around, is going back north kind of the way this all started. There you see the additional units beginning to join the pursuit. So now we've got a total of, what is that, 7 units down there?
7 out there.
Yeah,
5,
7,
6,
and you've got
yeah.
an 8th coming up behind here. So we'll see if they allow that 8th unit to join. It's only supposed to be 7, but as we've said before, they kind of get in the area, and then you got another one too. There's a 9th unit behind it as well. So we'll see. They've got a ton of units here. They're ready to take him if this guy ever stops, but he's just kind of on this marathon, not really high speeds, not really doing anything crazy to try to get away, just does not want to stop.
And Mike, before we had to go around the restricted area, he was on 50th Street, so this is 103rd, so he traveled 50-some blocks down Broadway, never got off it until this left-hand turn he just made, heading back north.
And now we're going to go eastbound here on 102nd Street. So we're going to start to try to go around, and maybe we'll go out towards Alameda to try to keep an eye on him. But this is what gets tricky when we go on these east-west streets when we're looking from the south. So Oliver's doing a great job of keeping an eye on him. But, this is the kind of the first move on that traffic to make this right-hand turn onto 102nd Street. So maybe they're trying to come up with a different plan. Also, I want to be clear here. When they requested the 2 additional units, the radio dispatcher put out that they are both armed robbery suspects.
Both.
So originally, remember, we'd been telling you it was the car, it was the suspect, you know, the plate, all of that. It was the first time that I had heard both of them referred to as armed robbery suspects. So we're at 102nd Street here is where I believe they're at. Oliver is going to reconnect with them here right there. Ollie, they're going to come through Main Street right there. In just a second. There's the black and whites. There they are. Just crossed over. Yep. Keep going to the right, Oliver. They just crossed through. Yep. So now we're still.
Looked like he picked up a little speed there, Mike.
He did for sure. We're eastbound on 102nd here. We just crossed through Main, and he's going to continue to go. He's right behind the houses. He's going to pop through that intersection right there. There he is. And kind of continuing on through here. So it gets real tricky in these neighborhoods, guys, these houses, the streets kind of blend in. We can only see so much that we can see. So Oliver's doing a great job of keeping an eye on him as he kind of goes. And I want to point out, while we can see this here too, you see the officers with their lights and sirens on. They're on 102nd Street. If you look one street to the north, you'll see a couple of other units that don't have their lights and sirens on, but they're just in the area. And Oliver, it looks like they're stopped back there on the left side of your screen. You've got those patrol cars back there that are stopped. So I don't know if he's behind that tree right there. Yep. If we're doing this
it does look like he's stopped, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, driver's door open for a second and is continuing.
Yeah,
so back to the right, Ollie. They're continuing on here. So they're asking one of the units to stop and check the area to make sure the guy didn't throw anything out when he opened that door. And see, that's what I was talking about. You see some of these other units that are just kind of in the area. They're not involved technically in the pursuit, but they're in the area in case this guy takes a foot bail. They'll need to set up a perimeter and do all of those things if he starts to run. So we're behind the buildings here on 102nd Street in San Pedro as we deal with this restricted airspace. Looks like Jeff and Oliver are going to try to kick it around to maybe Alameda to get some better eyes on him here. But we are continuing to monitor this chase now in the LAX Bravo airspace, making it difficult for us.
And Mike, because he made those two turns, right, it's a pretty good idea here that he's back into the LAPD jurisdiction, right?
Yeah,
we were saying he was going to enter county space.
Yeah, we should still be in LAPD's area right now. Yeah, because we're at 102nd and San Pedro. So we are still within LAPD's area.
Yeah.
If he comes down and goes south of the 105, we'll be into county area. And if he continues to go east, we'll be into the county area as well. But we're still in a sliver of LAPD's area, I believe.
All right, you're watching us here on KCAL News at 4 o'clock. This is on Channel 9. In just a few seconds here, we're going to be transitioning over to Channel 2. As KCAL News at 5 is going to get kicked off in just a little bit. So if you want to continue following this breaking news story of a robbery suspect pursuit, we urge you to go ahead and switch over to Channel 2 in just a few seconds here. KCAL News at 4 o'clock is going to be wrapping up any moment now, but this breaking news story continues here. A robbery suspect pursued. 2 people inside this car here that police have been chasing for, what now, Mike, a good 45 minutes or so,
Yeah,
right?
closer to an hour now, I believe, yeah. Because we picked this up just after 4 o'clock.
That's right, just before 4 o'clock. And Mike, go ahead, Booth. All right, we have 1 more minute left here on Channel 9 before we're going to switch over to Channel 2. Leslie Maring is going to be joining me there, along with Mike Rogers, as we continue following this breaking news story of a robbery suspect pursuit. What's very interesting, Mike, you were saying earlier today was that, or earlier in this coverage, that the witnesses said that this gun was tucked into the waistband of the armed suspect.
Yeah, that was
so
the
it was never
clarification.
Pointed at anybody, but it was used as a scare tactic.
Correct. During
in this
the
robbery,
robbery.
right? And we just don't know what kind of robbery it was yet still,
Of
right?
a business, a person, we're still working on that, yeah.
All right. So we are now traveling, it looks like eastbound here on 101st Street, and we just crossed Wadsworth. This is southeast Los Angeles. This is as far. Okay, turn it over to Channel 2. And back to our breaking news. Police in pursuit of a robbery suspect.
Yeah, it's hard to see here, but you can see they're making their way through the southeast Los Angeles area. I want to get to Mike Rogers right now because, Mike, I know you have new information. We're learning about what may have happened in this possible armed robbery.
Yeah, I just got off the phone with the sergeant over at Olympic Division. Olympic Division is the one who started this, and I asked if the robbery was to a business or a person, and the watch commander, the sergeant there, told me this was to a person. So it was not a situation, it doesn't sound like, where they went in and robbed a gas station or something like that. Sounds like this alleged robbery was to a person. And as we've reported earlier, that person, during the course of this alleged robbery, saw a handgun in the waistband of the suspect's pants. Apparently the suspect maybe lifted his shirt, and the victim reported seeing the butt of the gun in the waistband. That information came when the watch commander over at Olympic Division was trying to figure out if this was a simulated firearm, if the firearm was actually seen, if they have any reason to believe, as we talked about earlier, Juan, if maybe it's a BB gun or something like that. And that was where that information came from. So that's where we're at right now. Okay, I thought it was a dead end for a second. But so we went back westbound. So we were going eastbound and then southbound. And now we're back westbound. We're westbound on 109th Street at Avalon. We are still, unfortunately, that's why the shot looks like this. He's just barely hanging out in the LAX critical airspace area. So we are north of the 105 and just east of the 110. He's going to come through, and we should see Broadway again, which is where, remember, we made that long trek south from near USC. And if he continues to go west, he'll go under the 110 freeway. So we're getting close to that. As he approaches San Pedro Street on 108th Street. I know our locator there says he's on 109th, but it's just because of the angles that we're staring at everything. He's actually on 108th, going westbound through San Pedro now.
Mike, all this makes me wonder whether the victim recognized the suspect, because not only were they well enough to know that they saw a gun in the waistband, but a good enough car description that they were able to give it to police, right?
Yeah. I mean, and that's what's, you expect that in a business, right? A business will have security cameras, things like that. And not to say that this, maybe it wasn't the victim that was able to get the license plate. Maybe the officers canvassed the area and found security cameras from a home, a Ring camera, something like that. And that's how they were able to get the plate off of the, for the suspect vehicle. But yeah, that is a good point, Juan. Usually when we have this good of a description, it usually comes from a business or something like that. But the sergeant over at Olympic Division just telling me that this was a robbery to a person. And again, as we told you, the butt of the gun was seen by the victim in the suspect's apparent waistband.
Just makes me wonder if the victim knew the suspect somehow.
100%.
Right?
Because they had such a quick description of them, they were able to get things like a license plate.
A car description, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been monitoring this for the last hour now. I know it's hard for our viewers to really keep up with the vehicle. Every so often we get a break there in an intersection. You can see that looks like a gray silver sedan car there that they continue to pursue. And at this point, what's interesting is that we still don't know how many people are inside, right? But we know that 2 people were definitely dropped off.
Yeah, two people were definitely dropped off. They were able to talk to one of the people that got dropped off, who said that there was still a man and a woman inside the car. So LAPD's working theory right now is that there are 2. The right side of your screen is when the first guy got out. He was the first one to get out. Both of these people seemed like, no thanks, I don't want to be involved in this.
Right.
I'm outie. And they got out. This is the woman that we believe got out. She had a kind of a plastic bag with her when she got out. It's unclear which one of them gave that information to the officers, but somebody was able to talk to them who believed that they determined that there was, sorry, she'll send us some radio traffic, that the vehicle had another man as the driver and a woman as a passenger. That is the 110 we just crossed under. So we are still on 108th Street now through the 110 freeway, headed back westbound.
Mike, and we're still in that flight restriction, right?
Just barely. He's just hanging out just north of the 105 freeway, which, as I told you, is our kind of border for where we're allowed to be and hang out here in this area. So I was hopeful. He was coming just far enough south, but then he made a westbound turn.
Yeah, and it looks like we're waiting for that driver to see if they'll cross that intersection there. I have not seen the vehicle cross just yet. So they're somewhere behind these buildings,
right in front of that
homes.
bus. Yeah.
And we don't see the vehicle right now.
Yeah, what you're looking at on the right side of your screen is my computer, and you can see is the tail of the law enforcement helicopter and kind of where they've been. And forever, we were hanging out up here, and this is where the chase started. And then we went into the downtown area, came all the way south on Broadway, and we did this kind of rectangle shape here. And this is where we're at here at 108th. Just west of the 110 freeway. And just for everyone's, kind of awareness, here, this is SkyCal right here where we're kind of sitting. We can't come north of the 105. So you can see we're real close to being able to be right on top of it, but we're just out. He's still just inside of the LAX Bravo airspace, and they stopped right there on 108th Street. Oh, there we go, just coming through. And that's the thing that he's been doing this whole chase, is just this kind of stop and go, no idea why. Sometimes he stops at the red lights, sometimes he doesn't, sometimes he stops at the green lights. It's really no rhyme or reason as to what's going on.
And we do know a woman and a man still in that vehicle.
Yeah.
So you have to wonder if they're talking to each other. Does that other person want to be in that vehicle? Do they also want to be let out? Are they trying to stop this thing? Or are they a full accomplice in it? But yeah, this is kind of what we've been seeing. This driver will stop, even open the door at times. But does not get out and keeps going at a very slow speed, which is working in the favor of law enforcement.
Yeah, it is. And the only thing that it's not doing, though, Leslie, and I don't even know, I haven't even heard them request it, and they may not because of what the want is, but you know, a pit maneuver would be a little dangerous because of what the want is and the fact that they may have a firearm. So if you spin them around, you don't want them facing you.
Right.
So we don't know if they've even, I have not heard them request to do a pit maneuver. It may just have automatically not been approved because of it. We did earlier here talk about spike strips, but that never materialized. They were never able to get in position to do that.
You would think this would be one of those pursuits, though, right? Because it's so slow, they can get in position just ahead of them.
Especially when they were, I mean, they were southbound Broadway for like 20 minutes, which would have been great to get somebody ahead and drop a spike. Now, again, it's the same kind of situation if they're concerned for officer safety, because in order to do that, you still have to have an officer on the side of the road coming straight on at the suspect to be able to do that. So they may have denied that at one point just out of concern for that, although there were talks initially about it, but they were never able to do that. Sorry, just listening to some radio traffic. And again, here we are stopped. This time, I can't tell, is that a red light? Oh, now it's green. So we'll see if he goes on the green.
Mike, if Sky Cal goes back east, he'd have to go all the way back to Alameda, right? To get out of the flight restriction. What if he went west? How far do you have to go west?
So he is going west right now, and we would have to, I mean...
To the water?
Yeah, but the water, if we go to the water west of LAX, we have to be down at like 50 feet. So we wouldn't be able to see the car that way. What we could do, and again, it depends on if he gets this far, and it really depends on the mood of the controller at LAX, but we could get on top of the terminals at LAX and try to look at it that way if we get far enough west, but the controllers don't like all of the television helicopters that hang out on top of the terminals at the same time. So they don't love us being there, but you know, it depends on the controller.
Yeah, we're talking about a pretty crowded, lots of traffic out there
And now
on this Friday, and making a turn now.
On Vermont, right, Mike?
Yeah, so northbound Vermont from 108th. So we'll position SkyCal to look straight down Vermont, and then we'll have to play the same game where at some point we'll have to transition back to the north if he's going to make this make his way all the way back, you know, kind of where we started this thing.
Vermont's a nice straight shot too, so we should be able to get a decent view like we did when it was on Broadway.
And look at that, you got 7 patrol cars that have been authorized to be in this chase.
And plenty of road. There doesn't seem to be any traffic in front of him. But what I found was so interesting earlier, Mike, was that, you know, this driver was in the Pico-Union area, and we know that the vehicle was registered at a home nearby, and they chose to not go to that home. Sometimes we see the suspects go to the places that they know, and it looks like now they're just keeping this pursuit going. Yeah,
and you know, they hung out in that neighborhood for a long time. So I thought for sure they were going to try to do that. And I don't know, you know, maybe they've watched some pursuits on TV and thought that LAPD would go into tracking mode and back off and they'd get that opportunity. But unfortunately for them, because of the nature of the want, the watch commander has denied tracking and has ordered the units to stay behind the vehicle the entire time. So they're not going to have that opportunity to get distance from law enforcement to try to make that run for it. The other thing, though, too, Leslie, as we've been watching this, is they've not really been interested in trying to jet and get away from them. I mean, we're stopping at traffic lights. I think briefly maybe we got up to 50 miles an hour, but we've not seen any ridiculously high speeds or anything like that.
Yeah, or really erratic maneuvers here.
None.
Instead of trying to make a turn, you know, this driver is going to wait till the green light and then continue on at maybe 20 miles per hour at this point. So you have to wonder what's going on in that vehicle. Have police been able to, of course, talk to this suspect? But you can see there is half a dozen LAPD vehicles right behind them.
Yeah, and what negotiations the male driver is having with the female passenger at this point, where she wouldn't be urging him to just pull over and let's wrap this up, because we all know how this ends. When we get the code 4 at the end of a pursuit, is a suspect is in handcuffs, in custody, and the pursuit finally comes to an end. But again, not going very fast, which is safe for the public that's out there, right? Not a lot of pedestrians that we've seen have come close to this pursuit here, but still a great concern if this person is still armed at this time.
You got to wonder if spike strips will be a talk once again, because when you see an open road like this, you think this would be a great time to use them. But as Mike Rogers was saying, you have to also think about officer safety. Not only do we believe that this suspect is allegedly armed, possibly showed the butt of his gun to a victim, but you also see that very tinted windows.
Really tinted windows.
So it's hard to see what's happening inside for an officer.
And it'll be hard. Some member of command staff will have to make a decision at some point. Do we just do this until this guy runs out of gas?
And for how long?
And for how long? Or, I mean, then there are other options are if they don't want to use pit maneuvers, they don't want to use spike strips, your other, a little bit more extreme option, which I've seen before, is bringing in LAPD's Metropolitan Division. And we have seen that where they'll bring in armored SUVs and box him in and force him to stop. So I haven't heard talk of that yet, but that would be one of their options if they don't want to do a pit, if they don't want to do spikes. Then if they really want to bring it to an end and not just follow him until he runs out of gas, your other option would be to bring in armored vehicles, which they have done. And it just depends on how they want to handle it and how big of a thing do they want to make this.
Yeah. And we know what's not an option is they're not going to go into tracking mode, not at this point. At this point, they're sticking on. They've made the decision. They're going to continue to pursue this vehicle as long as it's going to take for this person to give up, or if they decide to make one of those maneuvers Mike just talked about.
And because of that bit of information, Mike, that's why we aren't seeing officers going into tracking mode. They're going to stay behind him at this safe distance for as long as it takes, at least for now. And 1, 2, 3, it's like six or seven vehicles still behind.
And for reference, normal pursuit, they generally only authorize 3 units to be in the pursuit. So you have your first 3 units and that's it. Because of the want, they added 2 more to get 5. And because of the fact that they were in and out of the LAPD's city, they added the 2 more. So that's how we have the total of 7. Your normal pursuit package is 3. 2 more because of the want, 2 more because we were in and out of the city.
Mike, the officer calling the shots, are they in that lead vehicle or are they back at headquarters?
So you have a watch commander 20L90, and I believe it's still Olympic Division's watch commander, but that would be making the calls of additionals. You also have a street supervisor who would be, if not in the pursuit, very, very near the pursuit, but I would suspect one of those patrol cars is going to be your sergeant that would be making the calls on the street. He was the one that asked for the additional units. And then you ultimately have the watch commander at the station that will make the decision of, do we want to use pit and spikes? Do we want to bring in Metropolitan Division? You know, how do we want to do it from a more kind of tactical standpoint? But you have a supervisor that a sergeant usually, or a lieutenant, but usually a sergeant, that would be in one of those vehicles with the pursuit.
Continuing on northbound on Vermont, right? At this point.
And we're going to lose them here because of the airspace. So I'm going to ask Oliver if we can try to transition through the 110. Last time they made us go around to Alameda. We'll see if they let us go up the 110 this time so we can keep a better eye on it. And then we'll have to kind of grab it from the other side again.
Makes sense. Got to keep our crews safe as well.
Yep. The crews in the airspace above LAX as many airplanes come into the city of Los Angeles at this time, and they need to keep that flight path clear, even though different aircraft fly at different heights, altitudes, correct. We still need to keep and make sure that we keep an eye on this pursuit, but also keep a safe distance from everyone out there.
Yeah, of course we're going to keep an eye on it, Mike.
Just real quick, there's a car that has been following the pursuit the entire time. So they don't know who that person is. It's apparently a white SUV. They're asking another unit to try to make a traffic stop on that car to figure out why they're tailing.
And they just figured this out a few moments ago, right?
Yeah, well, it's one of the new officers that joined the pursuit that noticed the car that's been back there the whole time. The airship just said, yeah, he's been with it almost the whole chase. So, they're filming. So it's probably a stringer. We have independent photographers that go follow chases, so maybe that's what it is. But that back officer is at least concerned about that.
Yeah, you got to keep your eye on pretty much everything. It could be a family member. It could be someone that knows this suspect, an accomplice. That's what I thought too, Juan. And then very much it could be looky-loos or people trying to get video. And there's some people that obviously do that for work, and we work with a lot of stringers. But the best practice is to just stay away because you just don't know where these pursuits will end up here, how they'll end. And it's hard to make out, but those LAPD officers look to be going a little bit faster right now. Yeah,
we're, and I can tell you the police helicopter is going about 42 knots. So, you know, roughly-ish, same speeds we've been going, kind of 30-ish miles an hour. And they're northbound Vermont. The next major is going to be Florence. But Right now, they're kind of northbound Vermont near 75th, 74th Street. As we go back north, and if he goes all the way north, we'll end up right back where this whole thing started. So we are now kind of on a map directly kind of northeast of SoFi Stadium, guys.
All right, Mike, we're going to let you continue monitoring this pursuit here while SkyCal repositions. All right, back to our breaking news, a pursuit of an armed robbery suspect that's been going on now for almost an hour.
Yeah, and you know, SkyCal trying to find this vehicle once again. We just saw an LAPD vehicle there, another one. Mike Rogers is working with SkyCal right now, but I know you were hearing that possibly a third person maybe got out of the car, or are we not sure about that?
We're trying to get some clarity on that because it was a very strange piece of radio traffic where they started talking about an Equinox car that may be involved as well. They were talking about a man involved in that car. You know, originally we had heard that there was a driver that was the man and a passenger that was a woman that was still inside of the car. As we're stopped in traffic here, we are on just approaching Slauson on Avalon. He went back northbound Avalon at Slauson here. So that's where we're at right now. It's going to be just to the right of your screen there, Oliver. And we're trying to figure out if there is an additional person that got out. We just talked to the watch commander again, who thinks that there are still the man and the woman inside of the car. So we're not sure if that bit of information about the Equinox was another car that was getting involved, and that's what they were talking about. But it was an interesting piece of information there that we're still trying to track down. But there you see the car just slip through the buildings there. You've got the LAPD black and whites as we're going more to the right there, Ollie, as we're approaching Slauson. There's where that car is coming. And it's going to be, there it is, right there on the center of your screen. As we're going past the school, luckily it's late enough in the afternoon that there's nobody at school now. But man, this has just been, I got to take a second and give it to our pilot, Jeff, and Oliver up in the helicopter. This has been a nightmare of a chase to stick with because it has just been so exclusively in this Bravo airspace. So we're doing our best to stick with it. And you know why we stick with these things. It's about public safety. And these are alleged armed robbery suspects that are going through the neighborhoods here. So we want people to know that there is a safety concern here. That's why we're sticking with this chase so hard, even though it's been very difficult for us to be able to bring to you.
And even though officers do have their helicopter up in the air, I know that oftentimes they'll monitor media helicopters to see what's going on there. Is yet another set of eyes on the pursuit here. And as we head east, you can see just how difficult it is for SkyCal to keep with it. But indeed, we are keeping with it. And you can see that it seems like the pursuit's picked up a little bit more speed here, Mike. It's not going as slow as it was earlier.
Yeah, no, it is going a bit faster here. You know, excuse me, and we're going northbound. So as we approach, as we get further northbound, we should be coming out of the Bravo airspace, you know, the problematic airspace for us here, as long as he keeps going back north. But we're going to be, you know, our next major is probably going to be Vernon. Right now, we're northbound Avalon, kind of at the 49th Street area. So we'll be coming back northbound, again, getting closer to where we started this whole thing. Over an hour ago now.
Yeah, and just to give a little bit of a recap, we know that this person was wanted for possibly a robbery, but we know that the victim, another person instead of a business, and that at one point that the suspect lifted their waistband there, and the victim says they could see the butt of a pistol or a gun of some sort, right? A handgun. And so that, of course, leads police to believe that this is a very dangerous suspect who is armed. Which is possibly why we haven't seen them use something like a pit maneuver or some spike strips. And it looks like things slowing down a little bit. You saw that LAPD car slowing down there, but it's hard to make out where the pursuit vehicle is.
Yeah, and I think it's these bits of traffic that he hits that makes him stop. So Oliver and Jeff, excuse me, and Oliver and Jeff are our team up in SkyCal tonight. They just clarified with the LAPD helicopter that the man and woman are still in this car, and the only two people that have bailed and ran were the original two that we showed you over an hour ago, the two that just were like, nope, not for me, no thanks. So right now we're here at Avalon and Vernon. It looks like it may have stopped for a traffic light. You see the northbound traffic, excuse me, starting to move again. There's the car going through the intersection. We should see, there it is right there, sorry. We should see those LAPD black and whites. There's the LAPD black and white right behind them as we go back to the northbound end of this. Hopefully we are going to get into a spot where we can be done with the Bravo airspace as he moves to the north, and we'll be able to get right back on top of it. For reference, you guys, I just want to point out, our helicopter is at Avalon and Vernon. So that is, you know, several blocks just to the east of the 110. SkyCal is sitting over the city of Vernon looking at this. So we are a ways away from where this chase is happening. So when you I just wanted to underscore that so you can understand why the shot is so far off in the distance. We're also shooting into the sun, which is difficult to do at this time of day. So they're doing a great job keeping eyes on it, but we are over the city of Vernon looking at a chase that is almost near USC.
Just shows you the power of the telephoto lens on SkyCal here, where we can basically keep a bird's eye view of what's going on at such a great distance and from such a great altitude as well.
Yeah, we're up at about 1,400 feet. Looking at this from several miles away. Now we are coming up northbound here. The next major cross is almost going to be, let's see, what street is this? We're coming up at 40th Street here. So we should be able to get out of the Bravo airspace, and SkyCal should be able to kind of, kind of cut back over here in just a second to hopefully get more on top of it.
Yeah, we're gonna, of course, stay with this, but kudos to our chopper pilot, of course, Oliver, who's up there managing that camera there, because it's very difficult, especially as we're shooting, into the sun. You can't make out those colors as well, but you try to stay on it as best as possible. At one point, though, we saw half a dozen LAPD vehicles behind this pursuit suspect, and Mike really told us why. Normally there are 3, but they added a couple more. You have to wonder if those people are working on that rooftop or if they heard there's a pursuit and now they're there just to watch what happens, which we have seen a lot. A lot of people have been coming by, standing on the sidewalk, watching this pursuit drive by because it's going for so long. A lot of people do monitor the situation, and you can tell when it's coming to your area, really. And at one point, Mike, you were saying that police believed that someone was possibly following them as they were pursuing the vehicle as well.
We're waiting to see what the result of that was. And Oliver, they're right there at San Pedro and Jefferson, right in the center of your screen, stopped at the light there. Excuse me. So we're waiting to see kind of what the result there they are. They're making that now westbound turn on Jefferson, which will take them right into USC if they stick with that. So we'll be able to get a better eye on them here in just a second. But they were concerned, Leslie, as far as your point about people watching and knowing where the chase is. The LAPD helicopter, there was a second where they got in Watts, and there's a bunch of housing developments and projects in there, and they were concerned because in the past situations where we've had chases that end there, the suspects get out and run, and everybody comes out of the housing development, and it makes it really hard for LAPD to try to effectively kind of chase these guys. Now we're getting a much better shot here as we are getting in a better spot with the restricted airspace here. And that's because we are so far back north. We're now on Jefferson, kind of approaching Maple here. Your next major is going to be Broadway, which you are very familiar with because we spent about 20 minutes on Broadway going all the way back down into South LA. Hopefully we will stay out of the LAX airspace now and can continue to have this better look at the suspect as we approach 5:36 here on this Friday afternoon. And this has been going for almost an hour and a half now. Heavy traffic as they approach Main, but we have not seen any really strong moves. He has never really blown through an intersection, really haven't been any too close of calls. Now northbound Main Street, which will be great news for us. You can see just a minor inconvenience for that car that had to switch lanes there. But you'll now see this kind of army of police officers, 7 patrol units, patrol cars authorized to be in this chase. And there they all are. You see at least there's 3 here. There's the rest of them that are trailing there as we are northbound Main Street at 32nd.
Mike, is there a time when these officers could get a little more aggressive, or the plan is just to continue doing exactly what we're seeing right now?
Yeah, I would say at this point, that is a decision that has been made by command staff. This chase has been going on for about an hour and a half. They have had ample opportunities to do spike strips, ample opportunities to do pit maneuvers should they have chosen, and it just doesn't seem like they're interested in doing that, and that's probably an officer safety decision based on the fact that they can't see in the car. Even the helicopter, who's much lower than we are, tried to look in the windshield and was not able to see what was going on in there. And that is obviously of concern to them because you don't know what they're doing. We believe there are 2 people left in there based on one of the other people that got out, but they can't definitively say that. So my guess is that they have discussed those options, the pit maneuvers and the spike strips, and have chosen to stay away from it because of an officer safety issue and because of what this person is wanted for. So that brings us back to what we were talking about earlier. What are our options here? Well, this forever until he runs out of gas or until they get bored and give up or realize that LAPD is not going anywhere, or they bring in Metropolitan Division and use armored vehicles to block him in. I've not heard any reference at all to that option. So my guess is they're going to be content with we're behind this guy. We've got eyes in the air. We've got 7 patrol cars down below him with him. Let's just wait this out and see what he does.
And they really have to take in all the factors that are working, against them here.
Yeah.
You have a driver who may be armed there. You have a car with heavy tint. You can't really see inside. A lot of times, Chopper can get close and see what's happening in that vehicle. And we're hearing in this case that's not something they can do. And you also have rush hour traffic. Now, we're not seeing much of it yet, but it is a busy Friday night on streets. And it feels like the driver is definitely not only picking up speed, but moving a little more aggressively. I wouldn't say they're driving extremely aggressive,
decisively.
Yeah,
because earlier there was all this like weird stops and things like that, almost like they were trying to figure out what they're doing. And now it seems like they at least are more of like, okay, here's where we want to go.
Yeah, they were following the rules of the road, really stopping at red lights and whatnot. And you see, it looks like they're now in maybe a turn lane here?
Yeah, there's that left-hand turn pocket.
Left-hand turn lane in Washington and Maine.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, and now we're right back. I mean, they've been here before. We've been in this intersection before. This is not a new place for us as we come back through. Now, if they continue to go where they're going, if they turn left, we'll go down Washington, which will put them almost right back to where we started. If they continue to go north, they'll end up back in downtown, which we have also been at before. So we'll just have to see. It looks like they may be kind of wanting to make that turn onto Washington. And if they do that, I think that's going to put us literally right back into where we started here. And remember, the registered owner of the car, and I want to be clear here because we don't know who the suspects are, neither does LAPD, but the registered owner of the car has us on 18th Street. And we are coming back close to that area. So maybe this is where they're going to say, like, okay, we tried going south, we tried going into downtown, that didn't work. Let's get back to somewhere where we're familiar with. Maybe that's their next thought process, although it's been very hard to tell because they've been just kind of all over the place.
Perhaps they've been convinced to finally just go home and pull over and get this over with because they are as close, as you said, Mike, to where this all got started, where this car is registered to in this area, not too far from where this all started. Yeah,
and Washington is actually where we first heard it on the radio. We were already up in Hollywood, and we heard it on eastbound Washington, so that's where we went, and that's where we'll see if they make the turn, but that's where we're about to turn. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, you still have those 7 black and whites that are down there with them.
Yeah, and all still, we believe, from the Olympic division where this all started.
So let's see, that's Olympic. Okay. Ollie, can I see the other cars, the other police cars that are back there? I can tell by the numbers on the roof. So the 20s are the Olympic division cars. So you have 20, 20, 20, 20, and then you have 18, that's Southeast, and you've got one more Olympic back there. So you've got, let's see, 2 from Southeast, and then 5 from Olympic division. Is that 18? Yeah, that's an 18. So yeah, you've got 2 from Southeast and the rest are from Olympic Division.
And the commander in charge is from Olympic Division.
Yeah, the watch commander, I believe the entire time has been from Olympic Division because you've got most of these units from Olympic Division. They added the 2 Southeast units when we were down in South LA leaving the city, and that's when they wanted to add those 2 additionals. And again, for anybody who wasn't listening a little bit earlier, the typical pursuit package is 3 units, 2 units and a supervisor. They requested 2 additional units because of the armed robbery and because that they were potentially thought to have a handgun. And then you've got the 2 more units that were added because at one point we were outside of the city of LA. Now we're making that turn back onto Washington, going back where we started. If he continues eastbound Washington, we will come up under the 110 freeway, which again is a place that we have already been before.
And this pursuit has been going long enough that sometimes we see those pursuit suspects, on the phone, talking to family, talking to friends, talking to people that they know, trying to negotiate with them to just pull over. So you wonder, are they going to the area that they know? A lot of times we see them go back to family homes.
Right.
We, of course, don't know in this case, but it looks like they're traveling back to that area where this car is registered. Again, we don't know if the registered owner to this vehicle is, in fact, the pursuit suspect, or the driver. But we will have to wait and see what their next move is. Again, very slow speeds, once again, following rules of the road here.
Yeah, just crossing Grand here, right next to the metro tracks. You can see there on the left-hand side. Not a lot of left-hand turns, I guess, Mike, could happen here, right?
Yeah, and just to clarify, I believe I said he was eastbound Washington, but he's actually westbound Washington. Okay. So we're westbound Washington at Pembroke Lane here. We just went through Hope Street. And then, there's the train tracks you were talking about, one where he's got to kind of go through those. But again, if we continue westbound, we'll go under the 110 freeway and kind of back to where, back to where this song and dance started, almost 2 hours ago now.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like at this point. Stop, go, stop, go. We've even seen that driver at times open the driver's side door, but we see no movement. We see no one come out. They'll stop for some time. They did spend a lot of time near the LAX airspace, so it was hard to really make out what they were doing, but we know that they were just stop and go, slow speeds. At this point, they're at a red light, right? Waiting.
Yeah, it looks like, and Ollie, if you can pull out just a little bit, I believe they're stopped at a light there. Again, following the rules of the road, right there on the road, it says keep clear, and he's doing that.
Wait here.
That's not the line
here.
he's willing to cross. So, they're stopped at that red traffic signal right there, waiting for the green. And that's what's been so strange about this is there's been no rhyme or reason as to why this has been happening. Sometimes we stop at red lights, sometimes we don't. And so it's hard to understand what's going through their heads.
And still no word about a spike strip, right?
Yeah, I've not heard a mention of a spike strip in over an hour now. So I'm guessing at some point a command decision was made to not do that, to not put those officers in that risk. Because certainly we have been going on the same streets enough to be able to get one deployed, especially when we were on Broadway for so long. They definitely would have been able to do that. Now, would he have? With these slow speeds, that's the other downside to spike strips is when he's going so slow, he's got the opportunity to see them and go around them. So who knows if that would have even been effective at these such slow speeds. But yeah, I mean, it seems like LAPD is content to just be here with him, not go into tracking mode, and let them know that they are still there. They're not going away. But it doesn't seem to be any concern to that suspect. He is just kind of out on an afternoon stroll.
And they haven't decided on bringing in those other units, Mike. You were saying the ones with the armed SUVs that they could actually block him in yet.
Yeah, Metropolitan Division would be the ones to supply that. I have not heard that even be discussed. When we were talking about it earlier, that's a theory, that's a concept, that's something they could do that I have seen them do before, but they have not, talked about that at all in this situation. They have not talked about any kind of pursuit tactics that they want to do. They're just kind of here with them and following them, and excuse me, hopefully he runs out of steam.
Yeah, or gas. And the question here is how much gas does this person have to begin with? Because this car could go for a long time on city streets here, very slow speeds. We don't know how much gas they started on. We've seen pursuits go for hours.
Yeah, this is a sedan here. It probably has some good gas mileage. So if it wasn't a full tank, it could keep going for quite a while here. Mike, is this the 110?
That is, he just crossed under the one. Actually, let's see. Where is he? That may be under the 10 freeway. He may have, he's in the area where the 110 and the 10 are kind of right next to each other.
Okay.
Excuse me, guys. I'm so sorry.
No,
this cough has been killing me.
It looks like he's stopping. He's also behind a bus. He's been keeping his distance from other vehicles. And of course, he's going to go maybe around the bus here.
Yeah.
The bus is just right to his right. I guess he's waiting to see if the bus was going to keep going. Maybe he's going to cut the bus off.
There you go.
And make a right-hand turn.
So I was wondering if he was going to do that because we're going to approach 18th Street, which again is where the registered owner's car comes back to. So I think the next street, there's 18th Street. So we'll see if we're trying to get back to an area.
Left-hand turn here, Mike, maybe?
Yep, this is okay. So now we're on 18th Street. There's neighbors that are starting to come out.
A whole lot of people,
Sky Cal's only got about 30 minutes of fuel left, so we're going to hope that this resolves before that. But here we are.
And take a
it's
look.
slowing down.
And all of a sudden we're slowing down. So I bet he jumps out here soon and just was coming home. And so the units were already at his house. Look at that.
He is pulling over, Mike.
You've got that unit on the left. That's a slick top. That's a gang unit.
We're already waiting.
We're already at his house in case he came back. So here we are. We're at the registered owner's home. They have stopped in front of the gate. Let's see what they do.
Mike, do you think maybe they did speak to family members who spoke to them and they negotiated, hey, come on, just come home. Let's wrap this up?
Yeah, that's very possible. I didn't hear anything about that, but it's very possible that the units that got out there ahead tried to knock on the door and see what this person was about, if they could make any contact with him. But clearly, those gang units there, that's the slick top car on the left, were ready for them when they came home. And you see, no.
It's going to keep going.
It just is, at this point, I mean, you wonder, they know your address, they know the registered owner, they know everything about you. What's the point in continuing to run here? A little more aggressive, though. The driving is a little bit more aggressive. Maybe they're a little frustrated that that didn't work. But now we're going through the parking lots, and we're going a little bit more, aggressive with the driving here, especially as we barrel down this alley.
Yeah, things changed in just a few seconds there.
Yeah,
definitely
very
driving
much so.
more aggressively. 50 miles an hour now in a
lot
residential
quicker.
neighborhood. So dangerous.
Yeah, right through this alleyway. You can imagine they probably know this area
Traffic.
coming up to that major roadway there.
I saw some cross traffic there. That was kind of scary.
We'll see which way they ended up. We lost them behind the building there for just a second.
He hasn't gone left yet.
I did see another vehicle coming up on that alley.
There he is right there, I think,
there you
right?
go.
Isn't that him? Yeah.
Yeah,
right there.
that's him.
Okay. You wonder, are they going to try to
Right?
make their way back
No,
to 18th
that's
Street?
not him. I'll go back to the alley. He may be stopped in the alley there. There they go. Back to the right.
Oh, there they go.
Sorry about that.
Did look like a similar car.
Yeah, so, you know, who knows? Maybe their thought process is, let me get a bunch of speed and create some distance and try to run, you know, but that hasn't worked before.
No.
But that was definitely, you definitely kind of feel the frustration from the suspect there, getting to his house, seeing cops already there, realizing that that's not going to work for him either.
And the thing at this point is we're basically prolonging, you know, them from being arrested,
Right.
because this is how it's going to end. Police are not going to give up.
From the suspect's, you know, standpoint here, right now he's wanted for the alleged armed robbery. Who knows if they've got warrants or whatever else is. But if during the course of this chase, an innocent civilian gets injured, a police officer gets injured, excuse me, we saw that up in San Bernardino. Remember, the suspect was not even responsible for the collision between that deputy and that other innocent civilian, and he got charged with murder. So if this pursuit creates another harm to somebody else, this suspect could certainly face those charges. So the longer the suspect plays this game and continues to go, the more risk he runs about somebody else being injured and adding yet another charge to this.
It looks like he's looped around, Mike, so he may be heading back to his home, is my guess. But I mean,
Yeah, we're back on Union in Venice right now.
yeah.
And you know, it looks like, you can tell me if it's been like that the whole time, the hood of the car there is a bit raised, like as if maybe it crashed into something at some point.
I do think it's been that way. I haven't heard of any collisions, and I do think the car has had that kind of damage. There's also,
okay.
I did notice on one of the sides of the cars too, there's a couple dents or something like that. So it does look like there's some previous collision damage. The other thing I want to point out, guys, no one has said anything about the car being stolen. So it's a very good possibility that they know who the registered owner is. And at this point, based on the fact that they went right to the house of the registered owner, it's probably very likely that the person who owns the car is inside of the car. And it's probably at least one of the two, either the suspect or the passenger. So LAPD probably knows who this person is, which also could go to the fact about why they're not doing pit maneuvers, why they're not doing spike strips. If they know this person has a lengthy criminal history of violent crimes or things like that, then that'll be even more reason for them not to do those.
Make some of those major moves like a pit maneuver or a spike strip.
Something that would put officers in harm's way.
Yeah, so you can bet that law enforcement knows a lot more about this suspect than the suspect even knows. And then again, we're getting
18th
right
Street,
back
Mike.
down 18th
There we are,
Street.
yep. So we're gonna go back to the house and we'll see if he just wanted to do one more loop before he gives up or what.
Or
But
maybe somebody called him back. Yeah, look, he's pulling into that same spot.
and
right,
there's
Mike?
that gang unit that's still right to the left there, and you've got now the car stopped once again. So we'll see, is this where they want to be done with it?
Well, looks like he put it in park. At least the foot was on the brake, and now it's not. So maybe he is going to be getting out of the car here.
So we'll see. So you've got these officers that are going to start giving commands. We'll work to lose that tree if we can, Oliver, as those officers are going to be telling them to come out. You've got the gang unit still over there. Those three officers in that slick top Crown Victoria that are also there as well. Pesky trees. Is that him that just got out of the car on the sidewalk there? I think so.
There is
Oliver, go
someone
up.
if you go up there. Yeah.
Yep, I think that's him. So
Are they going to try to get in another vehicle there?
now he's
standing there now.
walking like he drove, just kind of hanging out.
Now that he's out of the car, Mike, still, right, they could consider him armed and
100%.
dangerous,
And that's
right?
why they're not chasing him, right? That's why they haven't run up on him.
Looks like he's yelling.
He's got something in his hand. Looks like a cell phone. Cell phone in the right hand,
and
keys in the left.
maybe on the other hand.
Yeah.
Just put it all down, buddy.
Yeah, that's all right.
he
Throw his
tossed-
phone to
tossed his
somebody
phone.
Throw
else.
his phone to someone.
And there's
Going to
the
throw the
keys, too.
keys.
Doesn't want his car to get towed.
Oh, wow.
Oliver, can you look up? Is there somebody up on the balcony there?
Okay, he took off his hat. We want to be
Yeah, there's
careful
somebody
because
on
we
the
don't know the
balcony.
situation.
All right,
up
let's
there
go
on the
back down to the
second floor
suspect
of
now
the
if
house,
we can.
yeah.
There he is. So,
All right, so it looks like he will be giving himself up.
well, ish. They've got, I mean, they could
Ish.
use less lethal. They're going to clear the car because remember, there is still supposed to be a woman in the car. So we'll see if that materializes. He's still throwing things up to that woman that was on the balcony there. Hands are up, ish.
Hands are up, yeah.
All right,
And
now
he's
he's
on the
down on the
ground.
pavement. So this is a very dynamic situation for the LAPD because they still believe that there is somebody in that car. And you've got this guy who's kind of now finally laying down, but not really, doing anything that they would want him to do. He was kind of calling his own shots there by throwing the phone up to that woman and keys and all of that. So they'll take him into custody.
And it looks like he locked the door to the car.
So what happened to the woman? I didn't see her get out.
Oh, you know what? Police have broken the window to
look at
that car.
Yep.
You can see the driver's side and the passenger.
Yeah, they did. And
yeah, you can see the back seat and the
possibly
front seat. The window has been smashed. Yeah, they're breaking the window.
So
getting a good look inside, right, Mike?
Yeah, look at that. He's still struggling a little bit, too. They're having a hard time with him.
Yeah.
And that one officer that's by the car, it looks like he's got that neon green strap. That's the less than lethal, right?
That's less lethal. That's probably beanbag. It's either beanbag or the rubber bullets, but it's probably beanbag. So, all right. So there's our driver. They're going to clear the car. Ollie, let's stay with the car for just a second here. I just want to get that code 4 because I don't know where that woman went. All right. Trunk's open. Car's clear. So, Oliver, if we can, and I know we got the tree in the way and there's busy airspace up there, but if we can move around a little bit and look at all those patrol cars, I want to see what happened to that woman that was supposed to be in the car. We had the two that got out, and then there was supposed to be still a man and a woman in the car.
But we were told at some point maybe the third
well,
person
we
got
did,
out.
yeah, we had heard that back down at, I think, Vermont and
Gage,
Florida,
I think you
something
said,
like that, yeah.
But then it turned out that that wasn't the case. So maybe they did get out when we were behind the tree.
Or, the other possibility, too, Juan, is remember, there were two people that got out of the car, the man and the woman. We don't know which of those spoke with police. If it was the first guy that got out of the car and was talking to police, then he would have told them a man and a woman were still in the car.
That makes sense.
First guy may not have known that the woman got out. So this whole time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this whole time that they would have been operating off that information that there was still a man and the woman because that first guy that got out may not have known that the woman got out on her own too. So this whole time we may have only been dealing with the driver.
Wow. A pursuit that lasted nearly 2 hours now coming to an end in front of a home where we believe that car was registered to.
The suspect's home, right?
Yeah, the suspect's home. Suspect now in custody, but you can see police definitely, there's a lot of them there. This is going to be an investigation, but for now, this pursuit has come to an end.